Hey everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Today, we are diving into the world of hot tubs.
Okay.
And we're doing this specifically for the listener who sent in a whole bunch of information on hot tub maintenance.
Right.
You clearly are serious about keeping your hot tub nice and clean.
It seems like it, yeah.
So we've got fact sheets on filter care and general hot tub upkeep. Cloudy water mysteries,
Yeah.
foam fiascos,
Yeah.
and even the art of shock treatments.
Right.
Don't worry, we're going to break all of this down and give you like a nice, refreshing, jargon-free elixir of hot tub wisdom.
Sounds good.
And to help us navigate these waters, I've got our expert here with us. They're not just going to tell us what to do, but we're going to really break down the why behind everything.
Exactly.
So you can become a true hot tub guru.
Yes, you can.
Um,
And you know what's really fascinating about hot tub care is that it's kind of like maintaining this like tiny little ecosystem.
okay.
Like everything's connected, and if you understand that balance,
Right.
then that is like the key to enjoying, crystal clear water.
Right.
Nobody wants to get in a hot tub and see like murky, like what is even in there?
Yeah, you don't know what's lurking down there.
Exactly.
Okay, so first things first, filters.
Yes.
You send in a ton of info on those, and for good reason. One thing that really surprised me was learning that clean filters actually make your sanitizer work better.
That's huge.
Yeah.
It's true. Think about it this way. A clean filter is like giving your sanitizer a turbo boost.
Okay.
It's no longer having to deal with all that gunk and leaves and, whatever else might be.
Right, like all the big stuff.
Exactly. So it can really focus on that microscopic stuff and keep your water sparkling.
So it's like expecting a tiny tea strainer to handle a whole pot of loose leaf tea. It's just too much to ask.
Exactly. It can only handle so much.
Speaking of overload,
These sources got real about what we're actually soaking in.
like the bather load, as they call it.
Yeah, the day they're loads.
Let's just say some of those contaminant descriptions had me wanting to take a shower immediately.
Oh, yeah. It's easy to forget that a hot tub has a much smaller volume of water than, say, a pool.
Right.
But you've got all these people packed in there bringing in all of their, shall we say, organic compounds.
It's like a microscopic party in there,
It really is.
and not the fun kind.
Not the fun kind.
So we've got dead skin lotions, you name it, it's all in there.
Pretty much, yeah. So those filters, they're like the bouncers of your hot tub,
Okay.
right? They're keeping all that riffraff in check so that the sanitizer can actually do its job.
Right, so the sanitizer's not overwhelmed by all the stuff that's going on?
Exactly.
Okay, so filters are like the bouncers of the hot tub, keeping things clean.
I love that analogy.
And speaking of keeping things clean, the sources really emphasize regular testing.
Yes, they do.
Checking your pH and sanitizer levels every day,
At least.
along with weekly checks for other parameters, can feel like a chore,
I know, but it's worth it.
but it can prevent a lot of problems down the road.
It really can trust me on that one.
Okay, so we're talking about those test strips that look like tiny mood rings for your hot tub.
Exactly.
What's the most important thing to remember when you're looking at those colors and trying to figure out what they mean?
Okay, so those test strips, right?
Yeah.
They're your friend, not your enemy.
Okay,
They're giving you a snapshot of what's happening in your water,
right.
so you can make adjustments as needed.
So, like, if it's too acidic or too basic, you can adjust accordingly.
Exactly. And most test kits come with a really handy chart.
Right.
That explains what each of those color ranges mean for, like, pH, for example. So you don't have to be a chemist to understand it.
Right.
They make it super easy for you.
So don't be afraid of those test strips. They're actually trying to help you out.
They're like little lifesavers for your hot tub.
They're like the canaries in the coal mine of our hot tub paradise.
I like that.
It's like they say knowledge is power,
Right.
especially when it comes to hot tub chemistry. But, even with sparkling filters and perfectly balanced water,
Yeah,
sometimes things can still get a little off.
of course. Life happens.
Right. And your hot tub's not immune.
Exactly. Even with the best intentions, things happen.
So speaking of things that happen, let's talk about one of the big ones, cloudy water.
Oh, yeah, the dreaded cloudy water.
It's like your hot tub's way of saying, hey, pay attention to me here.
Right. Just cry for help.
So what causes cloudy water?
Well, cloudy water's tricky because it's usually like a multi-factor situation.
Okay, so it's not just one thing.
Right. It could be low sanitizer levels. It
Yeah.
could be that your filter's working overtime, hasn't been cleaned in a while.
Right.
Or even hard water can contribute to cloudiness.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's like this combination of things.
It's like a mystery we've got to solve.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of mysteries, one of the sources mentioned something interesting about pool shock.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll admit, in a moment of desperation, I actually considered using pool shock in my hot tub.
That's a no-no.
Yeah, apparently it's a big no-no.
It's a big no-no.
Why is that?
Well, think of it this way. Pool shock is formulated for much larger volumes of water, right?
Okay.
Like a swimming pool.
Right.
And it's got a lot of extra chemicals in it that can actually really mess with your hot tub's delicate balance.
So it's like using a fire hose to water your houseplants.
It really is. That's a great analogy.
It's that much too strong.
Yeah, so you want to stick to the products that are specifically designed for hot tubs.
Okay, stick to the hot tub stuff.
Exactly.
What about clarifiers?
Oh, yeah, clarifiers.
Are they like the miracle cure for cloudy water?
I wish it were that easy.
So they're not just magic?
Not quite magic,
Yeah.
but they can definitely help.
Okay, how do they work?
So think of clarifiers like those lint rollers that you use to get pet hair off of your clothes.
Okay,
They're not actually removing the source of the problem,
right.
but they help to kind of gather it all up.
Right, so in the hot tub, what are they gathering?
They're gathering all those tiny little particles that are making your water look cloudy. They basically clump them together so that your filter can then grab them more easily.
Oh, okay.
So it's a team effort.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly.
Okay, so clarifiers can help with those tiny little particles. But what about when you're dealing with the dreaded foam?
Ah, yes, the foam.
You know that moment when your hot tub suddenly resembles a bubble bath gone rogue?
Right. It
What
happens.
causes that?
So a little bit of foam is normal,
Okay.
but when you've got like a foam party going on in your hot tub,
Yeah.
that's usually a sign of high TDS,
TDS.
which stands for total dissolved solids.
Okay.
Basically, it means that there's a lot of stuff dissolved in your water.
Like what kind of stuff?
We're talking body oils, lotions,
Mm-hmm.
even those byproducts from your sanitizer doing its job. They can all contribute to high TDS.
So it's like, I mean, this is going to sound gross.
Go for it.
It's like if you took a bath and then just didn't drain the tub and kept adding more water,
Essentially, yes.
it's like all that stuff is still in there.
It's building up over time.
And that can lead to foam.
Exactly. And that's where our next topic comes, in the power of shocking your hot tub.
Okay, I gotta admit, the word shock always makes me think of something kind of intense.
Yeah, it sounds a little scary, doesn't it?
It does, a little bit.
But it's not as electrifying as it sounds.
Okay, good to know.
Think of shocking more like a deep clean for your hot tub,
Oh,
like hitting the reset button.
so it's not like shocking the system.
Not quite.
It's more like just giving it a fresh start.
Exactly. It's about breaking down those really stubborn contaminants that your regular sanitizer might miss.
Okay, so it's like giving your hot tub a spa day.
I love that analogy. That's perfect.
So what about the different types of shock treatments?
Right, because there are a few different options.
Yeah, the sources mention chlorine-based shock and then non-chlorine options.
Exactly. And they each have their own pros and cons.
Okay, so we were talking about the different types of shock treatments you can use for your hot tub.
Right?
And it sounds like there's a lot to consider when you're choosing between chlorine-based and those non-chlorine options.
There is, yeah, it really depends on like your own personal preferences.
Okay,
And then also the specific needs of your hot tub.
right.
So chlorine-based shocks are very, very effective.
Okay.
But you do have to wait longer before you can get back in the hot tub after you use them.
Right, because no one wants to be swimming in a cloud of chlorine.
Exactly. No one wants to come out smelling like a swimming pool.
Okay, so if you need to use the hot tub right away, maybe chlorine's not the best option.
Maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
What about those non-chlorine shocks?
Right, what about those?
So those are great for a quicker turnaround time.
Okay.
They use like different active ingredients to break down those contaminants.
Okay.
And they tend to be a little gentler on your hot tub equipment as well.
Right, so it's all about just weighing those pros and cons and figuring out, like, what works best for your lifestyle.
Exactly.
Like, sometimes you want that really deep clean with the chlorine, and sometimes you're like, I just need to use this hot tub right now. One thing I thought was interesting that the sources talked about was those byproducts of sanitization.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about them a little bit earlier.
Right.
Those chloramines and bromamines,
Yes.
they're kind of the villains here.
Kinda, yeah. They're not our friends.
They're the ones that make the water smell like chlorine.
Right. And that's why sometimes you get in the hot tub and your skin feels kind of sticky.
Right. It's not always the most pleasant sensation.
They're not ideal.
So they can build up over time, even if you're using your regular sanitizer.
Exactly.
And those shock treatments can help break that stuff down.
That's right. So it's not just about like keeping the water clear.
Right.
It's also about making sure that it feels good on your skin and it doesn't have that strong chemical smell.
Yeah, you want it to be inviting, not repellent.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about filters and water chemistry
Uh,
and the importance of testing and all those powerhouse shock treatments.
it's a lot, right?
It is a lot, but it sounds like the key takeaway here is that
Understanding how all of this stuff works together
yes,
is what's going to make you a true hot tub guru.
Exactly. Your hot tub is like this little ecosystem.
Right.
And all of these different elements, they all play a role in keeping it clean and balanced.
So it's not just about like doing one thing and then forgetting about it. It's an ongoing process.
It's definitely an ongoing process, but it's worth it.
Right. Because then you have this beautiful oasis in your backyard.
Exactly.
One more thing about those non-chlorine shock treatments. I know we've mentioned them a couple times.
Yes.
One of the sources mentioned that while they are really good at breaking down all that gunk and grime,
Right.
they don't necessarily have the same sanitizing power as that chlorine-based shock.
That's a good point.
So they actually recommended using a chlorine-based shock every once in a while,
Okay.
even if you're someone who normally uses non-chlorine options,
That makes sense.
just to kind of give it that extra oomph.
Right. It's like giving your hot tub a deep clean every now and then.
Exactly.
Just to really make sure that everything is truly sanitized.
So it's like a spring cleaning for your hot tub.
I love it.
So to wrap things up, it sounds like regular maintenance is key.
Absolutely.
Understanding how to test your water and what those levels mean.
Yes.
And then just knowing how to address those common problems if they come up.
Right. And don't be afraid to experiment a little bit,
Right?
See what works best for your hot tub.
Yeah, it's all about finding that balance.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a really interesting deep dive.
Yes.
I feel like we've really gotten to the bottom of the hot tub.
We did it.
A big thank you to our expert for sharing all of your wisdom with us.
My pleasure.
And to you, dear listener, thanks for coming along for the ride.
Until next time, happy soaking, everybody.